This is 40K Today, the podcast that's like your personal Jella field against the world. Without it, there's just chaos.
Welcome to 40K Today. This is your daily 15-minute news, views, and interviews show that covers the entire hobby of Warhammer 40,000. I'm your host, John Damaris, and today on the program, Brian Pullen guides us through their absolutely amazing and a little insane content schedule for 9th edition. Hint, it's massive. And we also talked to Frank, a hero who doesn't wear a cape, from the Land of the Rising Sun about Fukugan, which is an absolutely amazing app that brings people together. But first, we got to hit up our poll question of the week. Our 40K Today poll question of the week, live on our Facebook page as of right now, is this. Now that the rules for hashtag New40K have been fully previewed, how are you feeling? Absolutely pumped or very disappointed? Right now, we're in the clubhouse with a 95-5 lead for the absolutely pumped folks. The prize for the best comment so far goes to the friend of the show, Val Heffelfinger, and his quote simply is, "Who's that 5%? Val, that's a very good question. I actually wondered that myself. Brian Pullen over at Tabletop Tactics is a great human being. The entire team is actually, and they're putting together some amazing content. As a matter of fact, they're putting out at least a new video every day until 9th edition releases on the 25th. The videos have been tremendous, and they're doing a great job breaking down all the changes for 9th edition. Seriously, you need to check them out. Here's Brian Pullen to tell us about their release schedule and a few tips about 9th edition. All right, 40K Today listeners, we have a very special guest today. We're going to talk to Brian Pullen from Tabletop Titans, who has an absolutely massive release schedule for 9th edition. Basically, if there's anything you want to know about 9th edition, I'm pretty sure Tabletop Titans has it covered. Brian, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Oh, we're super excited. Do you want to tell the listeners a little bit about your planned release schedule? I know you've got a really neat infographic that's spreading around that we'll definitely link to, but let's just give them a taste of what they can expect from you guys.
Yeah, well, we're on the official kind of preview team, which means they sent us one of the Indominus boxes early, and so we've been able to preview some of the rules ahead of time. And of course, I've been playtesting the game for a while, so I've already had a lot to say. And so starting last Thursday, the 2nd, that was the official day that the preview team could unleash. We basically started doing videos since then, and we're going to have one video at least every day from then until the launch of the new edition on the 25th. And some days we've been having more than one. Last Thursday, we had 4 or 5. And what we do is we typically release a faction-focused video, which talks about kind of the high-level tactics and things that have changed in 9th edition for each faction. And then we do a battle report for that faction as well. So within that first 25 days, we're going to cover maybe 3/4 of the factions. And then shortly after that, we'll cover the remaining factions.
Cool. I think one of the most useful videos that you guys have done is you did sort of here's what's changed in 9th edition. And, maybe there's some things that people have missed, or, it sort of summarizes it in a nice, easy to follow format. Do you want to give the listeners a few of those tips from that video? And then maybe we'll put a link to it in case they want to get a sort of a crash course on 9th edition, I guess what I want to call it.
Yeah. Basically, in that video, we went over about 25 things that had changed in 9th edition. There's really quite a few. I'm going to give, after playing it quite a bit, a few that have really stuck out to me. The largest one, and this one is kind of different for everybody, is the change to terrain rules. The terrain rules have changed quite a bit, and in particular, the way that you interact with line of sight and ruins. The fact that you could see through a ruin as long as you're kind of touching it and it has windows, that has, in our experience, kind of made the game a lot more shooty. Now, that won't be your experience if your ruins at home don't have windows or things like that. So that one varies table to table, as terrain always does. So that one's been really, really big. And I think it's hard to appreciate the impact that has on the game until you start playing with your own terrain.
That makes a lot of sense. Is there anything else that sort of jumped out at you guys besides the terrain? I know one of the things that kind of caught me off guard a little bit was some of the changes to the scenarios. They're very different.
Yeah.
Yes.
Missions make everything. So if all they did was change the missions, that already would have had a massive impact on the game. One of the things is that the mission primary objective is all about holding objectives and not about getting kill points. And that really changes the kinds of armies that you could build. There's certain armies that couldn't go hot turn one and couldn't get that kill. And they were in a really tough spot. There's other armies that were crazy durable and kill point denial, which that doesn't really matter so much anymore. In addition, they've tried to do a lot to take alpha striking out of the game, both in the fact that you can get better cover turn one, you don't need to kill turn one, you don't score primary points turn one. All of those kind of give you an incentive to kind of hold back and kind of take the game more, kind of get into position turn one and not get alpha so bad. So things like that, I think, are really great changes.
Yeah, actually, I want to just highlight that one point that you talked about, that you can't score on turn one, because the first couple times I played against somebody with scout moves, and They were scout moving their stuff all onto all the objectives, and then turn one scoring a 15 points on primary. And I was like, well, this doesn't seem very good. And then I was watching one of your videos, and I noticed that you guys on your score sheet, on your infographic, there's no score for turn one. And I'm like, oh, I bet you can't score on turn one. That makes way more sense. So.
That's right. You can still get your secondary objectives on turn one. So if you had something like engage on all fronts as a secondary, which is essentially recon for ITC players, you could still score that turn one. And there's other things you could still turn, but not the primary mission. So yeah, those scouts can't do it.
Yeah, and then the other big thing, I think, is the secondaries. You sort of have to get used to living in a world where you're not going to score 15 on all your secondaries. I don't think I've done that in a game yet, right?
Yeah, it's a very hard world to get used to. If you played ITC missions, you would be really used to getting max secondary points. And if you didn't get max secondary points, something bad happened. Even if you lost, you'd get max secondary points in a lot of games. And so that is not going to happen in 9th edition. You're going to play an amazing game and still get, maybe 40 out of 45 points pretty regularly, or less. Secondaries are super duper hard.
They are really hard. Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time. Do you want to leave the listeners with maybe a video they can look forward to coming out?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we've got live games that we do. You can go back and watch them after the fact, but we do live games every Thursday at 6 p.m. and every Saturday at 12 noon. And this week, we've actually got an extra battle report on Tuesday. And so this week, we've got some of my favorite games. We've got Adeptus Mechanicus, which is probably the strongest faction at the start of 9th. We have the Custodes, which is one of the most improved factions of the entire edition. And so we've got all kinds of great battle reports this week. We're going to be showing Guard, which, everyone knows with all the tanks and blasts should be excellent. So lots of really cool stuff to look forward this week.
All right, Brian. Well, I'm looking forward to checking it out. I've been watching a lot of your content, so you guys are absolutely killing it, and you're doing a huge service to the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was Brian from Tabletop Tactics. Now I just have to figure out how to find enough time to watch all this amazing content.
Today's episode of 40K Today is brought to you by Frontline Gaming. Frontline Gaming is a one-stop shop for all your Warhammer hobby needs, discounted products, American-made gaming mats and terrain, and a full line of miniatures painting service and daily hobby content. And this can all be found at frontlinegaming.org.
Welcome back. It's hard to believe how much the world shrinks year after year. It's truly getting smaller and smaller. Our good friend Frank has been developing a new app that has made it possible to play 40K between two players who don't speak the same language. It helps you translate all the common 40K terms into another language, opening up the world. Frank is a hero and really making a difference in the community.
Hello, 40K Today listeners. We have a very special guest today. We've got Frank all the way from the land of the rising sun, who has created a brand new app that I'm going to let him tell you about that is actually really, really cool. Frank, you want to tell him the name of your app and kind of what it's about?
Yeah, so the name of the app is Fukugan Talk, and the app is to help people, English and Japanese speaker, in order to be able to communicate to each other, basically, and while playing 40K.
Right. So what it is it's like, if you want to think about like Star Trek, right, the universal translator, but it's all chock full of Warhammer 40K terms that you can translate from English to Japanese, right, or Japanese to English. It does both?
Yeah, it does both, yes. And we have sorted all the terms per different phase, for example, psychic phase, charge phase, and so on. So it's easy for people to find the different terms that they want to find and to find the translation according to those terms.
Okay, so I'm going to guess that the the impetus for making this app is just for your own benefit. Living in Tokyo, you probably love to play the game 40K, right? And you probably play it.
Here we have quite a large community, I would say, for the size of Tokyo and Japan that is playing 40K. But the main barrier that we have is really the language communication, because most of the Japanese don't speak good English, and the same is true also for the opposite. So we hope that through this app, people will be more happy to play together and to have people from different nationalities play the game together.
I think that's really cool. So that's like a lot of work to take on to make your community better. So let me just take a second and thank you for that. I think that's amazing. Now, do you have any plans to expand the functionality of Fukugan in the future?
We have planned. Yes, we have planned to extend the functionality. I used to live in China before living in Tokyo, in Japan. So we certainly extend it with Chinese language, because there is a large community of competitive players in China. And then I have few contacts in Vietnam and in Philippines also, so we may expand it there. Philippines a little bit less longer time, because most of the people here speak English. But Vietnam people here, it's quite important to have it in Vietnamese. And after we look in France, where I'm from, and probably Germany also, because a lot of people in Germany are speaking only German when they play 40K. So the idea is to add slowly more and more language. And as we try also to have voice, it's also to generate the voice for all those small sentences, 40K sentences.
That's amazing. So can people get the get your app now on the App Store and Google Play?
Yeah, the app is available free of charge on the App Store and on Google Play for both iOS and Android phone.
Right. So the app is totally free. And so now I think it's really cool. So pretty soon, just to make sure, just to sum up, you're going to be able to use this app to play with people from China, Vietnam, Japan, obviously, right? Any plans to add some of the other Pacific region countries, like maybe Korean or?
So Korea, yes, Korea, we are in contact, but the community here is a little bit difficult to reach. We are trying to reach them, but a little bit difficult. Singapore will be Chinese. Malaysia, we'll see if needed to be. And then after to expand to some country in Europe, so France and Germany.
That's amazing. So I've spent some time in the Philippines recently. Like I was there, I think in March, right? And if I had known I could have brought my models to get some games, then I might have considered it. I'm not even kidding. I think that would have been really, really sweet to play some international games. And
you have a good community of 40K player in Manila. I have some link also with Philippines through my wife, and you have quite a good community of 40K player in Manila.
Cool. So what's the 40K scene in Japan like today with the threat of COVID and everything? Like, are you guys getting together to play yet, or are there events?
So we were in a standstill until end of May. So slowly now in June, things are reopening. So we are now starting what we call a phase 2. So we can start again to have some small event. On our side, through Tokyo Tactical, we held one event in August 16, but we'll have to limit it to 40 people at the moment due to the phasing opening for after the COVID. And we are having what we call a Sayonara 8th edition event in 3 weeks from now. That will be a very small one, so 15 people in one of our sponsor shop.
Sayonara 8th edition. I like that. I think everybody should have a Sayonara 8th edition event. That sounds amazing.
Yes, it will be a Sayonara 8th edition. So the format will be, it will not be competitive. It will be 2 games of 40K. Just to enjoy the 8th edition. Then it will be a drinking party and to exchange our best moment that we had playing 8th edition. So everybody will have to explain what was the best moment that they found when they were playing 8th edition. For example, this character did a nice heroic intervention. This one, I remember doing that and that and that. So it will be a very friendly event.
That sounds like so much fun. So thank you, Frank, for taking a moment to join us. And as I like to say, not all heroes wear capes, but you're definitely a Warhammer hero. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good day.
Not all heroes wear capes, but I would not be surprised if Frank wears one. What a great guy. Okay, it's that special time of the show.
It's the model of the day, the model of the day, the the model of the day.
Today's model of the day is a stunning 5th Play Company Dreadnought by Brother Paint. The coolest/grossest feature is the blood/taint oozing out of the joints that adds so much character to the model. It's truly stunning. In the creator's own words, the forces of the 5th Play Company carry the sanguineous flux, which causes endless half-clotted bleeding and leaves a foul red and black trails behind them wherever they go. Amazing. If you have a model that you think we should feature on the show, or you've seen a model that should be featured in the show, let us know with our hashtag on Instagram, hashtag 40K Today, or toss us a message to our Facebook. And that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining us. A big thanks to our content producer, Alex Boehner, our social media superstar, Tanya Gates, and our technical producer, Seamus Ronan, for all their hard work once again in putting this program together. If you'd like to support the show, tell one friend about it and help us spread the good word. We'll see you all tomorrow. Until then, for the 40K Today team, I'm John Damaris, and that's what's happening in 40K Today.